Hi, everybody. Welcome back to our AOS recap chat here. We are talking Daughters of Khaine today. They have been previewed. This is exciting. This is one of my favorite armies, and I'm looking forward to playing it in 4th Ed greatly. So let's go ahead and bring in, you know what, actually, before we do, why not remind, like and subscribe, and turn on that bell if you're brave. We promise we will not ruin your life if you turn on the bell. Um, yes, let's bring in Saray. We actually have a few things we want to chat about. Here he is. Saray, how's it going?
I make no promises whether or not I will ruin your life if you hit the bell button.
Yeah, there might be some. There might be some bell ruining. But he just will post randomly, random things. Okay, so we have a lot going on that we want to talk about. A few different things before we jump into our topic of the day. So first of all, this is cool. They talk about Tacoma. It's going to be the first event, the first major tournament to use the new edition, the new Warhammer Age of Sigmar 4th edition rules. Pretty cool. We want to talk about the slaughter at Hell Crown. They kind of do this, I feel like, this is not totally unusual, right? For there to be kind of like a new edition comes out, here's some kind of global campaign. Have we not seen things like this before, Saray, or am I making that
Yeah,
up?
they did this for the Indomitus campaign for 40K
Right.
when they started that. So this is not like anything super new, but it is fun, right? It's a fun way to get involved in the start of a new edition and be able to affect the overall lore in some way is kind of fun.
I think so too. Now, here's the deal. We also get from this article, we finally get some pre-order dates. We know now that pre-order starts on June 29th. And it looks like 2 weeks later, the game will be in stores on July 13th. So we've been kind of waiting for this. We knew it was sometime in July. We didn't know exactly when the pre order would start, if the pre order was going to be 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So we now looks like we finally have this information. Kind of snuck in here.
Yeah,
I didn't see another Warhammer. I didn't see another Warhammer community article that was like, "Hey, everybody, just so you know, pre-orders on this day."
yeah,
So kind of interesting that this got snuck in here. We see the box again. It looks great. And actually, man, seeing this picture, it's a lot of models.
yeah.
Did
It's a
did
good looking.
it's good? Did we see how many are going to be in this, or how much this is going for?
I think we've seen speculation. I haven't actually seen it.
Was it?
I don't know how it's gonna be priced after the because there's supposed to be price raises soon, so I haven't seen if it's priced for that or not.
Yeah. What are you guessing? Does this hit 300?
No, no way.
You don't think so?
I
280?
don't think. I could see that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Interesting. Okay. So there's that. Now, not exactly Sigmar related, but we want to talk about this, which also kind of snuck in under, I think, a
yeah.
lot of people's radar. Talisman. Now, I've actually never played Talisman. I think I played the 40K version of it. Do you know what that one's called, Saray? The 40.
No, so the funny thing is I'd heard of Talisman, didn't know it was GW.
Okay, so it has historically been a fantasy flight game. Fantasy Flight and GW worked together. Then they parted ways, and it looks like GW has retained the rights to Talisman.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't remember Relic. Thank you, Saul. Relic is the 40K version. I've played Relic.
Hmm.
And it looks like they have remade Talisman, and it looks cool. Like, it looks kind of exciting. It is, if I recall correctly, it's sort of like a Hero Quest dungeon crawl. Somebody else correct me if I'm wrong in chat, because I'm largely unfamiliar with this game. I
Mhm.
know people love it, and Saray is seemingly completely unfamiliar with this game.
Yeah,
So,
I've never heard of this. I mean,
correct.
other than the name.
Yeah, it doesn't have like a DM, right? It's kind of an automated dungeon crawl, I think, if I recall. Um, I don't think there's like a somebody else who's like running it, like Hero Quest or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
So yeah, here we go. We've got it's back. We've got some cool models it comes with. There's a dwarf.
Oh,
Yeah.
so are these old models that are getting remade, or are these new?
These
I
are the
guess
new
if they were new, they
models.
would.
These are the new
Oh, they are
models.
new.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, we should play this.
Yeah, totally. You've got your different characters here. Yeah, it looks pretty I don't know, looks pretty cool. Like I said, I do remember thinking that the uh relic was pretty cool. Um
Yeah.
so yeah, that's kind of cool. Now along with it also they're releasing an expansion. So it's coming out with an expansion. Kind of exciting. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little excited. Now, by the way, Adcliffe mentions that the value of the box was put at 265 Saray, so
Mm-hmm.
we're pretty close
No,
in our guess.
sounds like a
Yeah,
decent deal for a GW box.
yeah. Any of you guys thinking of picking up Talisman? Kind of interested. I know
Oh,
I
265 was for the launch box.
for the launch
Anyway.
box, not for Talisman.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Talisman will probably
Because
be cheaper than that, hopefully.
hopefully.
My guess is Talisman comes in around 100, maybe more. I don't know. We'll
Yeah.
see. Okay. Yeah, we should definitely pick this up, Saray. It'd be a fun game to try to stream for members, maybe. So we'll keep an eye on it. Okay, finally, the main show, Daughters of Khaine. This is the army that I've been playing for a while. This is kind of the first army I really invested in. I do have a ton of ogres points wise, and that was really my first Sigmar army. But I don't ever feel like I really got into hardcore project of ogres because each model I have is like almost 500 points. So I don't
Yeah.
feel like I was investing a lot of hobby time in ogres. But for quite a while, I've been working on my Daughters of Khaine. I have a ton of everything, almost everything. Literally, the sub faction they show off is like the one thing I don't have, which is always fun, always fun. Um, Daughters of Khaine, super cool chapter lore wise. It's really all kind of this chapter is very centered on its main character, which is Morathi. Unlike other gods, she doesn't work in any other. She doesn't jump around. Well, that's not true. Nor does Teclis or any of the elf gods. Kind of are tied to a faction. So, cool lore. They're seemingly very bad, but they are Grand Alliance Order. That's what we're here on a Monday. And they are one of the things that makes them such good allies in Grand Alliance Order is how much they hate chaos. So that's sort of the main factor of them being in Grand Alliance Order. They talk. I did skim as always the lore section. I'm always kind of skimming these to look and see because a couple times we've gotten like little nuggets of new lore here, just kind of like, oh, okay, that's new. And it doesn't super look like that happened here. It talks about
Yeah,
her. Yeah,
I didn't see anything new either.
yeah.
Not nothing we knew. Nothing we didn't already know.
It talks about her and the gods dealing with Slaanesh. It talks about. I think it. I don't know if it talks about the alliance that they have with the Deepkin, presumably after this picture, where they're fighting each other, or the alliance with the Stormcast. But anyway, moving on to battle traits, we get.
They have an alliance with the demons because it looks like they're fighting.
In this picture, they're fighting. I think that this battle like starts, and then like halfway through the battle, if I recall the story correct, Morathi like strikes up an alliance, and they, I want to say, turn on other order factions at that point or something.
Ugh. Not a fan of. You shouldn't do that. That doesn't sound very orderly.
Yeah, I can't remember the whole story there, but okay, so here we go. Battle traits. They keep their blood rights. This is similar to Power from Pain if you're a Drukhari player in 40k. So they've got each round they're just getting a new buff to the army.
Yeah.
So it's +1 to run, then it's +1 to charge, then +1 to hit in round 3, and then in round 4 +1 to wound. This is the one that's different. Round 5 currently takes their award from a 6 to a 5, and now gives them +1 attack. So not as defensive, more offensive. Here's the deal with this one. Looks good. The removal of the 5-up ward is interesting. It's hard to comment on these, I have to say, as a Daughters of Khaine player. It's hard to comment on these because the reality is the way the army plays, it's a glass cannon army for the most part. And the way it plays is I'm almost never waiting to round 5 to get this perk, because often I play Hagnar subfaction, which is just the whole army's 1-up on these, which means I'm getting +1 attack in round 4 in that case. So round 5 is kind of interesting. I've never really felt like the ward was super awesome in round 5. Daughters of Khaine, I think typically the game is getting decided around round 3 because of how fragile and brutal the army is. If it's gone well for me, I don't really need even if I'm round 4 or 5-up ward. If it's gone well for me, I've never played games where I feel like I'm really waiting for that ward. The attacks are probably going to feel the same way. In other words, I'm kind of suggesting the battle round 5 thing doesn't super matter. I will say this, though. One of the things that makes Witch Elves in particular and things like Sisters of Slaughter scary is already their number of attacks. And Witch Elves kind of can have this effect with their buffs where you have a unit that was previously 20 and that unit's now down to 4. And you're like, oh, okay, I don't have to worry about that. But actually you do, because oftentimes in the current edition of the game, those 4 Witch Elves are hitting and wounding on 2s and might have red 1 or red 2. And so it is, and they could have, in the current edition, exploding 6s. So it actually could be a problem for you. They could do a lot of damage. So we'll see, but it puts Witch Elves up to the same number of attacks as Dread Scythe Heritans. So I'm kind of excited for that. The other thing we haven't seen yet, and we're not going to see in this preview for Daughters of Khaine players, is we're not going to see anything that tells us that we can bump this up at all. I'm guessing we can.
Probably related to a sub-faction or a character, right?
Sub-faction, there's currently a lot of ways it happens in the book. So there's a sub-faction that does it. There is a once per turn ability from a Hag Queen to pick one unit and bump them up. And there's also a prayer to do it. And, with this army having spell lores, prayer lores, I guess we're calling them prayer lores. And we know the Hag Queen just does that on her data sheet, on her war scroll. My guess is we'll see it somewhere. But I
would be surprised if it's not.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking though, Saray, based on the sub-factions they preview, which we'll get to here in a second, I'm kind of guessing that it might not be a sub-faction, an army-wide thing.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, we'll see. Okay, they have one other ability. They currently have an ability called All-Out Slaughter for 1 command point. They get exploding 6s, which makes sense because the army's often hitting and wounding on 2s, so all attack is often pointless for the army. Maybe they're not wounding on 2s, but they're usually hitting on 2s. And this is going to be the same. This army is +1 to hit on turn 3, which means starting on turn 3, this army is hitting on 2s, army-wide. So all attack is going to be somewhat pointless. But this doesn't do the same thing. And so if you're asking me to rate an ability, I would say this one falls short in what I thought it was supposed to do in the previous edition. It's kind of like giving Nighthaunt Discorporate. They can't affect their shield, their save. So you don't give them all out defense. You give them something to replace all defense. Daughters of Khaine are elves. They're going to hit on 3. So when the whole army goes to +1, they're going to hit on 2. So you give them something to replace all attack. That's not really what this is. That's okay. It seems like there's going to be other use for command points, so we'll see. 1 command point, this is once per battle, any combat phase. You pick a friendly Daughters of Khaine infantry unit, and they get fight twice.
Yeah.
I don't like this for the following reason. For the following reasons. Following reasons. Ready? Reason one is that you announce this ability at the start of the combat phase, because we know that that's the way the ruling works now. Let's say it's your turn, Saray, with your knights or your slaves to darkness, and you say, and I've got 20 witch elves in combat with 10 chaos warriors. You say all the abilities you're going to use, and then I say all the abilities I'm going to use. So I say, okay, I'm going to use this. Now I have to survive. So, and I'm an army that's not good at surviving, actually. So, kind of interesting. We'll see. And then you fight, then I fight again, or I fight, you fight, I fight again, whatever it is. I think it's okay, and it remains to be seen. Also, of course, it just says use 2 fight abilities. There might be something cute with that. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there's a way to give out a strike last to some, well, I guess that doesn't really matter.
No, that would matter. That would matter, actually. Because
you would go first in the strike.
You'd go first. That would absolutely matter. So that's a good call as well. I hadn't even thought of that. Currently, Daughters don't have that, but it doesn't mean they couldn't have it in the new edition.
Yeah, if there's a way to give that out, that could potentially be good for tying up 2 separate units if they're close together.
Yeah. I think it's going to be interesting. I shouldn't say I don't like it. I should say, right out of the gate, its simplicity of how it could be good is not amazing, because it's going on units that are very fragile. And so I love taking huge blocks of 20, so it might be okay for me. It might be okay for 20 witch elves. It might be okay for 10 melee snakes. I just don't unknown yet.
Well, yeah, this is also only once per battle.
That's the other. Unit. That's kind of the other thing. However, Daughters of Khaine are certainly one of these armies that can put out so much damage that this. I mean, other like Iron Guts, Iron Guts currently have this ability, which are the ogres who are the super elite ogres, and they're absolutely brutal in combat. So they do it the same way. I'm going to guess that this will be useful. You're going to kind of know. The only thing, like I said, I don't love about it is currently in the edition with Iron Guts, you announce it after you kind of look at what's happened. You go, all right, I'm fighting again. Witch elves are going to be a little hard to do that with, because they do so much damage. It's hard for me to, like, I guess, like 10 Blight Kings. 10 Blight Kings, I would call this. I'd be like, okay, I'm fighting twice. Because I don't know that 20 Witch Elves are going to pick up. I think I might pick up 4 or 5. And then you're going to kill a few, and then I want to be able to fight again. But otherwise, it's kind of weird. You either have a fragile unit that might get wiped back on the clapback, or you have a really brutal unit that might not need this. So who knows? I think between pylons and stuff, it could be interesting. You could get to go fight another unit. That's the other thing to think about. We'll see. Okay. Mectoplasm says, the fires of combat rage higher than ever in new AOS article. They show the Blood Sister Crystal Touch ability. It gives out strike last. Did they? Is that what it does? Is that here that they show it?
I didn't see that. Maybe we'll see.
I didn't see that. I didn't see that either. I do feel like they showed something with the Blood Sisters. Okay.
Oh, it's in a different article.
Okay. Here we go. Battle formation. They show us the Scatheborn stuff. Scatheborn is a term for any of the weird snake or bat ladies that Morathi has made. So they're elves, so to speak, but mutated. So it's the Canari things and the Blood Sisters and the bloodstalkers. Okay. This is pretty. This is what he's talking about, I guess. Unmodified charge roll of 8+. This unit gets strike first, which is different, I think, actually, than what Mectoplasm is talking about.
Mectoplasm was talking about a different
Different
article.
article. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is cool. I like this. This is interesting for melee snakes. They're a pretty beat face unit, and especially with the right buffs on them, they get pretty crazy. So looking for A+, unmodified A+ for strike first is interesting. I'm not sure. It's risky as a Night Haunt player, and basing one of the things I've kind of learned about the Night Haunt charge rule is I just built my army not around that rule. I consider whatever happens from that rule to be a cute benefit.
Bonus, yeah. Because the average roll of 2d6 is a 7, right? So,
They know what they're doing, right? They put it
yeah,
right out of reach.
Yeah, it's probably not something you want to base your entire strategy on.
Yeah, yeah.
But it is a nice to have. Like, you don't lose anything from rolling dice, right? From rolling a charge roll, I mean.
I think the problem with this ability once again on this army, it's a little different than Night Haunt. If I charge 20 Dreadscythe Harridans in and I get a 10 and I give you fight last, that's awesome. I'll charge somewhere else and not have to worry about it. And that's how that's only way this is gonna be interesting. It's two ways. It's either your first charge roll is an 8+, so you just get it right away, and then you go, you know what, I will charge over there now. Yeah. Or you're desperate. You're desperate. If you're desperate, you'll keep trying, right? But once again, the reality is this is an army that doesn't really want to go in and then sit there and take a couple, take a unit or two going into them, because they're not durable. So we'll see. But I think it's really good if your first charge roll is an 8, then you're probably killing two things. Bloodstalkers get strike first on the charge with this attachment, and then give out strike last from their crystal touch, and then fight against the battle trait. Yeah, one place once per turn, Mectoplasm, you'll be able to totally wreck things, which is cool. Okay, they also say the other two ones, Khainite infantry across the battlefield, with wisps of Ungorian shadow magic. So this is cool. I have 2 units of Shadow Stalkers. There is currently a subfaction that centers around Khanites. The Khanites are the Shadow Stalkers are really the only unit that are Khanites right now. Okay, the other one is use breathtaking acrobatics to ensure that charges hit home. I'm curious about this one. Breathtaking acrobatics absolutely makes me think Witch Elves and Sisters of Slaughter. Mm-hmm. And on the charge, I'm going to guess they either do damage on the charge or their +1 to wound on the charge would be huge.
Interesting. I read that as something like re-rolling charges or bonus to charges. So I'm curious what that'll be.
It could be that. Yeah, that's very true as well.
3d6 charge Witch Elves.
It might be. Or chaperone mobile cauldron shrines to slam through enemy lines with mortal damage. This is interesting too, because cauldrons are good. They do a lot. They hit kind of hard. You've played against them, Saray, right? They hit kind of hard, surprisingly hard. They buff like crazy everything around them, and they're priests, so they're really good. But they haven't actually been teched into this edition until Cthulhu's book. So this is kind of interesting and I'm glad I built up another one seeing this. All of these look fun to try. Kind of weirdly, I don't have any melee snakes built up and painted. So I wouldn't do this one that they previewed. It's like the one I won't probably show off. Yeah, all of them look exciting, and I'm very curious what they'll do. So we'll see. Okay. Yeah. Then, when we get to arcana and incantations, prayers and magic, Daughters are weird in that I think they're maybe along with Stormcast, we were chatting this. They're kind of like one of the few armies that has sort of a lot of prayers and spells,
Hmm.
kind of divided evenly. And then people were pointing out to me, Saray, this kind of interesting thing in Hobby Hang the other day. They were saying that Stormcast, from what they removed and from what they're previewing, might be
Hmm.
down to one wizard.
Oh, interesting.
And or maybe one plus Krondys, the dragon.
Oh
And
wow.
that they're kind of switching to a prayer centric army, actually. Like more and more of the Stormcaster are priests, actually. So sort of
Interesting.
interesting, yeah. Um,
I mean, they did get rid of the whole
the
wizard chamber.
yeah, the whole wizard chamber, right?
They just told the kick rocks.
Okay, bladed vortex. 9 attacks, threes, -1 for 1 damage. Criticals. It's got exploding sixes. If it charged, then on a 3-up, it can ignore positive modifiers to save rolls for an enemy unit.
Seems fine.
Yeah, again, it kind of remains. Once again, I have all of these, of course, Daughters of Khaine endless spells and invocations. This one has, up until now, and maybe still now, been very bad. So it's the one I have not put together and painted.
Yeah.
It's got a ward of 6+. That's kind of like an army wide thing we're seeing. Yeah, I don't know. Like these things are free, and I think we're all. I'm still just not sure like how they're gonna come out. And so like even for example like what is it cast on, right? How do I bring it out? Like do we know that yet?
Does it
Like
say? I
um
think it said somewhere. It doesn't say, huh?
yeah. So I don't know. Like if this thing is easy to do, easy to use, and then it's a 12-inch little ranged attack essentially. It's okay. It'll do. Stormcaster gonna be on a 3-up. Stormcaster gonna be saving on 4s. You're gonna kill 2 Stormcast maybe.
Weirdly, it just doesn't seem like something your army really needs, right? It's like, yeah, killing stuff in melee with a bunch of, lowish rend, lowish damage attacks is not something this army is hurting for.
It's literally like 3 witch elves.
Yeah. So,
Now that said,
oh, way more.
yeah, that said, sending it off somewhere to deal with a hero, that it becomes interesting against a foot hero. I'd say that. But these things are like units now that have to make charge rolls and have to survive combat, right? Like again, somebody can just go into this thing. It has a 6-up save, a 6-up ward, and 7 health. That's not much.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
not. This is not. It's not going to be a problem to deal with, and it's not even in a
right,
good scenario. It's not going to do that much damage.
right. Okay, so we'll see. Okay, then we got who we thought we were gonna get. We got Morathi, and we got both versions of Morathi. And news for everybody that hates how Morathi's rules work about her being
Sorry.
unkillable. Sorry, she's still unkillable. Unkillable. Okay, a couple things here, Saray. Yeah, her weapon profiles get consolidated. Little Morathi. This is kind of a big thing because I will say that as a foot character, anyone who's everyone who's played a lot of games or anyone who has played Daughters of Khaine as their army has a story or two about Little Morathi wrecking face because as a foot character, she had basically this profile right here, and then she had 6 more attacks that I think were.
Yeah.
And what you're missing also here, of course, is blood rights, right? And so in Hagnar, these like Little Morathi came in with like this weapon and then 6 more attacks that I think were Ren 1 damage. And they were all hitting and wounding on 2s. So like Little Morathi kind of came in and was like, hey, like for a little foot character, she slapped pretty hard. Like you could count her.
Yes.
And what of course made her even scarier is that the player playing Little Morathi didn't care about throwing her in. If Big Morathi was also for sure taking 3 damage in a big combat, then you throw Little Morathi in anyway, and you suffer no consequences.
Yeah.
That's still going to be the case, but she slaps a little less hard. However, I think most Daughters of Khaine players will appreciate that she has regained her +1 to cast. She's back
Yes.
being a awesome magician wizard, which is something she's supposed to be in her lore. She's a 3 cast wizard with +1 to cast. That's pretty good.
Yes, and again, like we've mentioned before, that like, we're not seeing a ton of ways, a ton of pluses to cast, so that's like a pretty big deal.
Yeah. So the Mirror Dance is currently a spell they have that does something similar. It's currently in their lore, and it lets 2 heroes switch place. And that's sort of what it does now, but it's specifically Little Morathi and Big Morathi. And more awesome, it's anywhere on the battlefield now. So I love this. This got better. This got really cool. Like, I've used it a couple times with like cute hero switching, and it's okay. But the fact that now I can just pick Little Morathi and Big Morathi and be like, all right, we're switching spots, is pretty wild. It's also
pretty nuts.
It's in your hero phase. It's not outside of 9.
Oh wow.
Can you be in combat? I think you could be in combat. The only condition, of course, is that you have to be able to set the model up on the token.
Yeah.
So that could cause issues. But the other thing that I think you could probably do with the base sizes is Little Morathi standing outside of 3 of something at the start of a hero or in a hero phase, switching with Big Morathi probably just puts Big Morathi in combat with that thing.
Yeah.
In fact, I know it would. So
yeah, that's a good point.
yeah, you can do some brutally scary things with this, where the scary wizard and the scary absolute beat face monster just switch spots.
Yeah, just hello.
Yeah, I'm very excited for this.
Oh no, it says right there. Each unit can only be set up in combat with units that the other unit was already in combat with.
Okay, but that's still good. That's still good.
It's still really good.
Yeah, that's still good. Yeah, it looks very fun. Little Morathi doesn't take damage. She passes to Shadow Queen. We're going to get there in a second. Tad points out, and he is correct, I noticed this as well, the scariest part of Little Morathi is also gone, which is she used to have a command ability that said fight or shoot in the hero phase. That seems to be gone. Fighting and shooting in the hero phase is kind of a thing for Daughters of Khaine. So we're gonna sort of see what happens. The big thing about Daughters of Khaine, and that's going to be curious going in the fourth ed, is that they're weirdly a defensive army, and that more than any other army, they get their defense from good offense. And fighting in the hero phase is kind of one of those things, right? Like they do things by making sure there aren't very many people attacking them because they've killed all of them. So we'll see. We'll see if that shows up. The other place that currently does exist is on a Slaughter Queen can do that.
Right.
And we haven't seen a Slaughter Queen yet. I think you're right, Tad, also, which is exciting. Tad points out that her points could drop a lot without that ability. And I would actually like that. I would prefer Morathi to be in the 500, 600, 650 point range so that I could just take more things.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorceress Supreme. Is that really what they called that ability? Interesting. Okay. One other thing you pointed out, Saray. She dropped a save.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So she used to be a we're
four.
talking about Morathi Khaine?
Little Morathi dropped. Yeah.
Little Morathi lost. Did she have a ward though?
She still does. She has a ward of 6. Yeah, the whole army.
I'm asking if she used to have one.
Yeah, it used to be an army ability that they all had 6 up wards.
Yeah. So yeah, she did lose a little bit of her save there, but I mean, she's still only taking 3
wounds. But I have to say that it every bit counts, because you can put yourself in situations where like someone is struggling to do that 3 damage. And they're trying to do it on Little Morathi, and it's like, well, she's got 3 up when I all defense. So,
right,
yeah. Okay, then we get Shadow Queen, and I gotta say, Shadow Queen, in the best possible way, sucks. You do not, once again, just like currently, you do not want to be anywhere near her.
Okay, sucks to be fighting against, not she sucks.
No, she's awesome. Okay, so right out of the gate, Gaze of the Shadow Queen stays the same. We
Shorter range.
sh- oh, is it 18 currently?
Yes.
Oh, really? Okay.
Mhm.
So it's down to 12. That checks out. I kind of thought it was 12. She can see, she can do it in combat. That's cool. Checks out. She's just staring somebody down. It's a nasty one. Heartrender got uh, Heartrender got kind of crazy good. It's already good. It already is basically this profile, except it picked up criticals, and Morathi has no degradation when she takes damage.
Oh yeah.
So Morathi's always going to have 8 Heartrender attacks, 9 in turn 5 if she's still around, and by turn 4, hitting and wounding on 2s, Ren 2, 3 damage. Crown of Serpents got worse. I don't really care about Crown of Serpents. And
Yeah.
it's hitting and
Big
wounding
deal.
on it's hitting on as the game gets late. It's better anyway. The envenomed tail stays the same, but by not degrading, it's doing 6 damage all game long.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which is scary. Still
guys,
one attack.
guys. The scariest part about that just seems like of all things that they're toning things down. Critical mortals on Heartrender just is wild to me.
Yeah.
8 attacks can very easily produce 2 6s. It can somewhat easily show up every now and then with 3, and it's just like 9 mortals. Oh, and 3 more saves at Ren 2, which will be 9 more damage.
Yeah.
This is wild. She's gonna hit very hard.
Yeah.
I mean, she currently does, but she's gotten a little beat facier. Also, Control 10. Did anyone see that? That's an ogre. I like it. Morathi. I wish little Morathi had higher control. I like it. It's like
You
absolutely
have everything, Zach.
get away. Yeah, she's like get off of this objective now.
And the good news is she absolutely survives the Andrasta test since she can only take 3 wounds.
Yeah, no, we thought that would be the case. She will absolutely wring Yandrasta's neck.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do not want to be Andrasta going near Morathi. Yes, Meg, absolutely. Morathi is back to being my true love. Sorry, Lady O. No, she looks good. She looks it's gonna be fun. And I have to say, a lot of people. 2 things. This is wild, by the way. Something else. Both Broken Chef, who's a big supporter of the show, and somebody else recently told me that they've played against people in this current edition who were healing their Morathi. You cannot heal Morathi in the current edition. You cannot heal Morathi in the new edition. That would be completely busted. Stop and think for a moment. People playing Morathi and healing her. Are you crazy? Like, do you want your opponent to have any fun? That would be the dumbest freaking rule. Can you imagine that? Like, oh, she never dies. What? Look at this data sheet. She does currently have an ability where if she kills something, um, the nearby Canari and Melusai get get this buff, and she kind
Yeah.
of has retained it in the form of a monstrous rampage. I don't play a lot of Canari or Melusai, as mentioned, so I don't care about this. However, it's also cool she has a stomp. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Seems solid.
yeah, she seems very solid.
I would say maybe more than solid. Quite good.
She's quite good. She's going to be good in a game. In a game where we're seeing a lot of toned down data sheets, she's looks scary.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. We don't get my favorite witch elves, but we get Sisters of Slaughter, who just as good almost. I need to make more Sisters of Slaughter. I've mostly just been horde painting witch elves, so I need to do this with Sisters of Slaughter. Here we get this is interesting. We get Sisters of Slaughter with bladed bucklers, and correct me if I'm wrong, chat, Saray. Is this the first time we've seen with blah blah blah?
No, we've seen it somewhere in Stormcast, I thought.
Okay.
Or maybe they had alluded to it. I think it was the what are the big boy Terminators? The
Oh
almost like
right.
Terminators.
Right, meteoric grand hammers or
I believe that they had
shielded hammer.
yeah, I believe that was shown
Okay.
that way. I might be wrong, but I believe that they had already shown this style of war scroll
So,
with different
right.
loadouts.
Okay. So here's the deal. I think by seeing this war scroll, we can probably discern what normal Sisters of Slaughter will look like, and we can probably somewhat guess what witch elves with bladed bucklers will look like, because we get the bladed buckler rule, which is unmodified rolls of 6 are immortal back. Saray, you asked me
Okay.
this. You asked me this the other day, and
Yes.
I actually still don't know the answer to this. Somebody in chat knows the answer. Tad, I think you know the answer to this. Maybe you
You
answer.
do roll it even
You
if
do roll it, and I think actually
you
Tad
do
answered
roll it.
this. I'm like
Yeah.
having deja vu as I'm asking this. Okay. Um,
Yes.
okay, that's great because why not? Right? Why not do immortal?
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay.
Why not do a ton of mortals?
Right.
Potentially.
So I like a lot of things going on here with this data sheet, with this war scroll. First, Sisters of Slaughter. Currently, they have like a pile-in 6-inch effect, kind of like dire wolves.
Mm-hmm.
Now they have -1 to hit from combat attacks. That's
That's
huge.
nuts.
That is nuts. Witch elves are going to have something pretty good. The current witch elf thing is +1 to wound if they're near a totem, so a cart.
Mm-hmm.
A cart. Actually, did Morathi get totem? Also, is totem even going to be a thing? So who knows? Okay.
Yeah, so they did lose a base save. They used to be. Oh, sorry, they gained base save.
Well, I think so. Yeah, that's the bladed buckler.
Is that including the? That's the buckler. Okay.
Yeah. So the alternate version of this is going to have the quiplish, and probably a seanza, their knives that they use,
Yeah.
and she'll probably have 1 extra attack. And my guess
And a
is
6 up save.
what's that? And a
And
6.
then their save will go back up to a 6.
6. And my guess is that it's going to be the same stats, but
Yeah.
hitting a 3, winning on 3. Probably no rend, probably 1 damage. Maybe anti-infantry rend, I don't know. That's kind of kind of interesting. So, okay, cool. What I want to see now is what witch elves get. And like I said, the current witch elf ability is kind of centered around a +2 to wound.
Mm-hmm.
You can already get a +2 to wound, so we'll see what they do. I'll be honest, I would, if clearly it won't be the same thing, but I would love something defensive, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
So Sisters,
I think that -1 to hit seems crazy good to me. That seems like a major
it is good, yeah.
upgrade.
I almost inevitably will be, whether witch elves are better or not, will be building and painting some more Sisters of Slaughter. Just so that I can even have a 20 lady block and do a little tar pitting, anything. Cool. Okay. They look fun. They look good. They talk about the ward. They talk about the Blade of Buckler, Dance of Diversions. Next, we get the Canari Heart Renders. I have never played these. I have some. They're not painted up. I need to paint them.
Is it Canari or Canari?
Yeah, I don't know. People say Canari and Canari. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't speak Aelf.
These ladies are nasty. First of all, they gain a health. Kind of weird.
Oh yeah, just gained health.
Yeah, currently, snake ladies have 2 health, and elf ladies have 1 health, and bat ladies have 1 health. But bat ladies now have 2 health. Okay, right out of the gate, very interesting. They can deep strike. That's what the first 2 rules are. And then when they throw their things, they can move D6. I think currently, can they just move?
I'll have to look that up.
Or I think it is 6 inches.
I believe so. Yeah. After you shoot, you can move 6 inches.
6 inches. Now it's D6. Not as good, but
No.
still interesting unit. The other thing, let me back up with blood rights. The other kind of thing that works against, The other thing that works against shooting units in Daughters of Khaine is that they don't benefit from the blood rights. All the blood rights abilities, all the blood rights abilities currently, and it looks like just checking here in the new edition, are combat attacks.
Interesting.
And this weapon can be used in melee, like it's the same weapon, but it can't be shot in melee.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll
Auto
see.
wound is not bad though,
Auto wound's
right?
not bad when you're wounding on fours.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also think it's weird. I know I see the Mectoplasm, the second attack with the barbed javelin. Doesn't really make sense, but that's okay. um, okay. Uh, yeah, they're interesting. The move being a flat 6 currently has a lot of play. Moving it to a D6 makes it like deep striking these, shooting, and then moving D6 is not as interesting.
Congrats on your 1-inch move.
Yeah, yeah.
That's inevitably going to happen.
Right, right. With objectives being smaller as well, and you'll be able to zone out just like in 40K. You'll be able to zone out deep strikers from objectives, and currently that's pretty hard to do in Sigmar. If you with one unit, if you're on one side of the objective, your deep strikers go on the other side. You can stand in the middle, but then more can get on if they make a charge. So like, yeah, sort of interesting. Okay. Yeah, they talk about the glass hammer, fragile, lightning fast. It's pretty much how they are right now. We'll see. I'm curious about a lot of war scrolls, witch elves in particular, because I have so many of them. The cauldrons, because I have a couple of those. Cool to see Morathi's war scroll. Going to be interesting to see what Cthulhu does in the new edition as well. So we'll see.
Yeah, exciting.
I don't understand what this means. Is this a British thing? You can't take lumps like other armies can.
That's not a British thing. That just means you can't get you can't get beat up. You're not as tough.
That's lumps. What like you get bruises?
Yeah, yeah, like welts and.
Okay.
That's not a purely British thing. I don't think.
Okay. I've never heard that before. I was like, what are they? Wait, do they mean I can't take big blocks of units? Like, is there a cap? Is there a cap on the size? Or like, what are they talking about? Okay.
What do you mean? Clarify.
Remind me sometime to talk about my take it on the chin misunderstanding. I spent up until my early 30s, I'm gonna say, vastly misunderstanding what take it on the chin meant. And then one time somebody used it in public, like in a public speech, like it was like an academic speech, and they used it. And I was like looking around, I was like, "What? Did he just say that?" Because I thought it meant, being forced to fellatiate somebody, but it actually means just getting punched. And so I didn't know that, and I thought it was really weird that the guy said it in public like that. Saray looks like he's totally frozen up. Or he's just responding to my story. Either way, it's kind of funny. Anyway, that was weird. That was a weird thing that happened to me. Oh no, Saray's gone. It's just me. I think he left because of the story. Okay, Spearhead, we get bloodstalkers. We get their war scroll. I'm really curious if bloodstalkers. So some things have gone down here. The wound is worse. The random damage are still good. They have auto wound, not mortals, which is what they have currently. But they also got +1 attack. Their range is 18 inches, and they kind of mentioned that their range is 18 inches for Spearhead. They like call that out specifically. So I don't know if my guess is the whole army is going to drop to 18 inches, or not the whole army, but they'll drop to 18 inches in normal Sigmar. And they get critical hits on unmodified rolls of 5 if they don't move. That's kind of interesting. I could see that sticking around. Okay, and that's kind of it. I don't know. I have a poll up, which I will now close, asking people what they thought about Daughters of Khaine. So I've got Daughters of Shame, Daughters of Lame, Daughters of Pain, and Daughters of Dang. Which won, which means you guys are thinking that this army is actually pretty good. Yeah, I think it looks interesting too. Some of the things that are missing are making me a little bit nervous, but I, you know, everybody's getting weaker, so you know, it kind of is what it is. We're finding out that next week we have, or not next week, tomorrow we're looking at Lumineth, which is great. Cool. I think that's it. Tonight we are, assuming Saray survived whatever just happened. Saray and I will actually be playing a game tonight. If you're a member, I see a lot of members in here. And we will be playing Daughters of Khaine. So we'll be playing Daughters of Khaine versus Saray will be playing Magakin. And I think that's everything that we have to cover today. A big reminder of our schedule. We do our hobby shows Wednesdays and Sundays, 4:30 p.m. on Wednesdays, 10 a.m. on Sundays. We have this show every morning at 9 a.m. And we have our AOS games, including, like I mentioned, one tonight at 6 p.m. and then Saturday at 10 a.m. As we get closer and closer to 4th edition, we're very excited for it. And I think that more or less does it for us here today. Thank you for showing up. And we will see you guys later tonight for the members only game. Bye.